Hey there, friends. This is Praying Medic. This is Monday, December 8th, and this is my daily news update. I am going to talk about Julian Assange, finally. You've been asking, what about Assange? What do I know about Assange? I'm going to talk about Julian Assange today. Oh, by the way, I'll be doing an interview with Daniel Barron tomorrow night on... I think I'll try to Periscope that. I have to figure out how it works. But the New Right is going to do an interview with me. It's an Ask Me Anything. So if you want to get on a scope where you can ask me questions, I'll be doing an Ask Me Anything with the New Right tomorrow at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Is it 8 o'clock Eastern, I think, is the time frame for that. So I'll try to broadcast that. I'm going to have to do a little bit of software monkeying around to make sure I have everything set up. It is going to be, I think they do this on the Discord app, and I have to figure out how to use the audio and video on Discord. I have never used it. So that'll be fun. Hey, be sure to think outside the box, especially when you're reading the news. Think outside the box. All right, a little bit of news. Going to do some domestic news, just kind of get you up to date on what's happening with the president today. He spoke at the American Farm Bureau down in Tennessee, and he signed 2 executive orders that are designed to provide increased broadband internet service for rural areas. They're going to probably put up cell towers and put up other communications towers in rural areas to allow people who live in rural areas to have better internet. So 2 executive orders came out of that, which I think is good. The Trump administration will not extend the temporary protected status program, which has allowed nearly 200,000 Salvadorans to stay in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced today they're not going to renew the program. Last year, the administration ended those same protections for people from Haiti and Nicaragua, and this year they're going to sunset that program for Salvadorans. So they will have until September of 2019 to either leave the country or obtain a visa or find another way to stay in the country legally. In a related note, I checked with Chad Pergram, my guy on Capitol Hill, and he is reporting that Democrats are digging in their heels on the DACA issue with respect to the upcoming government shutdown. They have to either do a continuing resolution or come up with a new budget bill for the whole year. And Dems are stuck on DACA right now. They're not letting go of it, and they're not going to compromise. He said they are digging in their heels, and they do not. They want it their way, and they don't want to compromise. Vice President Pence is going to travel to Egypt, Jordan, and Israel between January 29th and January 23rd. He's going to address the need to combat terrorism and assist persecuted religious minorities. That's the purpose of his trip. We have another congressman who is not going to run for re-election in 2018. Ed Royce, who is a Republican from California, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, has announced he is not running for re-election in 2018. He is the 5th chairperson to announce that they're not going to run for re-election. So I don't know if he has anything in his closet he doesn't want people to find out about. He just said, hey, time to spend time with my family and kids. That's what everybody says in politics when it's time to get out. Hey, I need to spend more time with my family and kids, right? So he's not going to run for re-election. This next story is a little entertaining. Judge Trevor McFadden, who is the judge presiding over the Fusion GPS case, okay? Fusion GPS attorneys have asked Judge Trevor McFadden to recuse himself from the case. Want to know why? Because they're saying that Trevor McFadden was part of the Trump transition team in 2016. And he may be predisposed to having some kind of conflict of interest in a case where the Fusion GPS dossier was actually used to surveil people on the Trump team. So imagine the attorneys going to court and saying, well, you know, our dossier led to the Trump transition team being illegally surveilled by the FBI, and the judge is actually one of the people that was illegally surveilled. So we would like him to recuse himself. You can't make this stuff up. That is actually a motion that the attorneys put in court today. They would like the judge to recuse himself because he was probably illegally spied upon by the FBI due to their dossier. Good stuff. Bruce, yes, it just keeps getting better. Bruce Orr, who was previously demoted as an associate deputy attorney general, he is one of the guys who got together with Christopher Steele and Glenn Simpson from Fusion GPS, and they put together the dossier, and Bruce Orr was probably involved in getting it to FISA court. He has actually been removed from his position as head of Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. So he has been stripped of 2 positions with the Department of Justice now. I'd be surprised if Bruce Orr doesn't end up going to jail, along with Comey and McCabe and the other crooks at the top. There is a report out from Zero Hedge that says that the Bernie Sanders investigation by the FBI into a 2010 property deal that was mainly orchestrated by his wife, although Bernie was probably part of it.
That college thing?
Right, the Burlington College. That has actually gone before a grand jury now, and that one witness has been asked to testify in that case. So if this, it's difficult to know with grand jury investigations, but there is an article on Zero Hedge. It says that it seems like there's a reliable report that has gone before a grand jury. So we'll see what happens with Bernie in the future. The Clive Bundy case has been dismissed by a federal judge today. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice, citing prosecutorial misconduct. When the case is dismissed with prejudice, it means there cannot be a retrial, so they're going to walk. There will be no further charges in that case. That case is over. They can't be retried. So we got some good news out of that. Happy to report that. This is coming from, next report is coming from True Pundit. There is a second report now out of the FBI field office in Los Angeles that an agent is being accused of sexually assaulting a female Justice Department attorney. The woman says an agent put something in her drink, which made her pass out, and then she was sexually assaulted afterward. So trouble for the FBI continues. There is a report coming out of Reuters that, this is just ironic as heck, the coalition of nations led by Germany that agreed to lower carbon dioxide emissions by 40% before the year 2020 has pulled out of their agreement. They didn't think that it was doable anymore, and so they're reorganizing. They're looking at whether they should keep the goal of reducing by 40%, but put it out to 2030. They all got cold feet over this thing. And I suspect part of that has to do with the fact that the United States has pulled out of it. And since they're not going to get our money, and since we're not giving them money and it puts us on a more level playing field, they did not want to be hampered anymore with these restrictions, so they're out. And that is, to me, is very telling that the entire thing was probably all about the money in the first place and creating an uneven playing field economically. And once the president got us out of that, their sham kind of got exposed. So that is a report from Reuters, by the way. The president signed 7 bills into law today, and you probably won't hear about this from the mainstream media, but I'll tell you, I'm not going to list all of them, but I'm going to list 3 or 4 of the ones that I think are kind of important. House Resolution 1242 was passed into law. The 400 Years of African American History Commission Act establishes the 400 Years of African American History Commission to plan activities to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of African Americans in the United States. House Resolution 1306, the Western Oregon Tribal Fairness Act mandates the conveyance of certain federal lands in the state of Oregon to be held in trust as part of a reservation for specified tribes. There is another one, House Resolution 1927, the African American Civil Rights Network Act, establishes the African American Civil Rights Network within the National Park Service. There is a bill here, Senate Resolution 1532, the No Human Trafficking on Our Roads Act. This is going to be interesting if you've been following Q. Okay. No Human Trafficking on Our Roads Act, which requires the Department of Transportation to disqualify an individual who uses a commercial motor vehicle in committing a felony involving human trafficking from operating a commercial vehicle for the rest of their life. So if you commit a felony that involves human trafficking and a commercial vehicle, you'll lose your driver's license for life. And if you know about the recent executive orders the president has signed, this kind of dovetails with the human trafficking. And January is Stop Human Trafficking Month. So the president is really going after this. The next one is equally important. This is Senate Resolution 1766, the Sexual Assault Forensic Evidence Reporting Act of 2017. This bill requires the Justice Department to inform certain entities of existing federal resources to address the need for pediatric sexual assault examiners in responding to child abuse, and extends certain DNA grant authorities. So this law requires the Justice Department to make resources available to people who would be seeing children who are at risk for sexual assault, and it would mandate pediatric sexual assault examiners be available and that people would know about that. So you can see that human trafficking and sex trafficking is a big deal now. And Trump is all over this. I'm glad to see that these are new laws being passed. I'm sure a lot of you are too. The next article is about Rex Tillerson and his recent negotiations with China. Read this article last night. It's on my Twitter timeline if you want to check it out. I posted it last night. It's a very interesting article written from the Chinese perspective, and it basically talks about how Tillerson has come to China and he broke one of their taboos. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. There has been a taboo in China that forbids China from talking about or allowing Americans to talk about contingency plans about what would happen if North Korea fell. That has been a taboo subject. U.S. diplomats are not allowed to talk about it. And the reason why it's taboo is China has always feared what the reaction might be out of Pyongyang if China entertained any discussions about North Korea falling. You just don't talk about it. It's not something that you discuss because they don't want to suffer the backlash from North Korea if they talk about the possibility of North Korea going away and collapsing. So Tillerson has been in negotiations and talks with China for the last couple of weeks, possibly as long as a month. And he has been talking to the Chinese about contingency plans that we have in place for when North Korea falls. that we are going to land troops. We're going to go in and we're going to secure any nuclear weapons, make sure they don't fall into the hands of the wrong people, and then we're going to get out of there. And Tillerson's contingency plan, essentially, the first priority is securing any nuclear warheads. Tillerson has made it clear to China we have no plans of occupying North Korea if and when it falls. Now, the strange thing about all of this is China has basically said, look, this is something we can't talk about. we can't even tell North Korea we had these conversations, because if we do, North Korea is going to get angry. So you can talk all you want, and the interesting thing is this reporter who broke this story said that the potential fall of North Korea has become a much more common subject that is being talked about in China. People never talked about North Korea falling before, but now, due to Trump and his stance and his going back and forth with North Korea, people are now talking about the possibility of North Korea, the regime falling, and what would happen afterward. So things are changing in China as a result of the Trump administration. Things are changing for the better, I think. And I don't know, I just thought you might find that interesting. So I have a little report for you on Julian Assange. For those of you who've been bugging me for weeks about Julian Assange in the comments, what about Assange? What about Assange? Hey, what's going on with Assange? All right. So Jerome Corsi has gotten involved in the QAnon discussions. When I was following the FBI Anon posts a year ago, the anonymous FBI agent actually was asked a question by the Anons. What should we do? What do you want us to do to red pill people about what's going on in the world? And the anonymous agent said, read Jerome Corsi's books, plagiarize whatever he's written, and spread it out there on the internet. Write blog posts, do videos. And the FBI anonymous agent said, look, Corsi has a few things wrong, but most of what he has is spot on. So Jerome Corsi does have a pretty good history with this sort of thing. He's a good investigator. And I have learned to, I don't trust anyone 100%, but I think Corsi has done a decent job of piecing together the information that has come out from WikiLeaks on Twitter, on Q, and I'm just going to give you kind of an overview of what Corsi's view of this is. And this is an article that he posted on InfoWars. All right. So in the past few days, a series of unexpected developments have cleared a path for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to leave the Ecuadorian embassy in London without fear of arrest. On Tuesday, and this article was posted January 4th. Last Tuesday, WikiLeaks posted a tweet announcing the US government has ended its 8-year-long grand jury proceedings against WikiLeaks that was expanded in 2017 to cover the WikiLeaks various vault releases on CIA technology. And there is a tweet that's embedded in here that's a WikiLeaks tweet. The WikiLeaks tweet referenced a State Department press conference held that day, January 2nd, 2018, in which State Department spokesman made a strong statement regarding freedom of speech that was couched in reference to Iran. We support freedom of the press here in the United States. We support the right of voices to be heard. When a nation clamps down on social media or websites or Google or news sites, we ask a question. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? We support the Iranian people and we support their voices being heard. Okay. Now, so the State Department is basically putting out there a message saying we support free speech, freedom of the press, freedom to publish, and we don't want dictators clamping down on people and their freedom to publish and write and say whatever they want. Trump's attorneys filed a motion on December 29th with U.S. District Court in the case Roy Cockrum versus Donald Trump for president. And Trump's attorneys argued that Julian Assange had a right under the First Amendment to publish the DNC and John Podesta emails, even if the emails were stolen. The case was orchestrated by Project Democracy, a group run by former attorneys from the Obama administration, arguing that then former Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone had conspired with the Russians to publish the DNC and Podesta emails. In a 32-page motion defending the Trump campaign, Mike Carvin of the Jones Day law firm, an attorney of record representing Trump, argued that the Trump campaign and, by inference, Julian Assange at WikiLeaks could not be held liable under their First Amendment for disclosure of stolen information if the information published involves a matter of public interest, and the speaker was not involved in the theft of the information. So you have a Trump attorney arguing that Trump and his people have a right to publish the DNC emails as long as they weren't the one that stole them. And they're also simultaneously arguing that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange had a right to publish their information. So that's the backdrop for one of the things where it looks like Trump's people have come on board in supporting Assange. In May of 2017, the government in Sweden dropped the rape case that they had against Assange, ending the 4-year-long attempt by the Swedish government to arrest Assange via a European arrest warrant. In a recent decision by a United Kingdom tribunal, it also appears that they have vacated the arrest warrant issued by the British court in 2012 after Assange violated his bail conditions when he took refuge in the Ecuadoran embassy. On December 29th, so a little over a week ago, Assange posted a tweet that was a reference to an article published by The Guardian on December 14th, 2017, citing a UK tribunal that declared WikiLeaks to be a media organization and a free speech advocate, designations that could carry a legal importance in placing Assange under free speech protections in both the UK and the United States. There's a link to a tweet and an article. All right. A QAnon post recently on the internet bulletin board 8chan on Christmas Day, and a series of messages posted on Twitter by Julian Assange on New Year's Day appear to deliver a coordinated message that an extradition for Assange from his sanctuary in the Ecuadorian embassy is imminent. While interpreting posts that are intended to be cryptic is not a science, those who have been following Q understand that Q has correctly forecasted some very important developments, and these messages came in code. Ultimately, the question of Q is raising is this: will President Trump pardon Julian Assange? The Q Christmas Day post reads as follows, and there's several bullet points here. On January 1st, 2018, InfoWars posted this decoding of the cryptic QAnon Christmas Day post. Use of decoding the numbers, they translated 10 minus 9, the post, and they assigned the letter 10 to the letter J because it's a 10th letter. And if you subtract 9 from that, it leaves 1. The first letter is A. So they took the 10 minus 9 and assigned that as Julian Assange, J-A, by subtracting the numbers of the alphabets. The operational window for Assange's extraction from the Ecuadorian embassy in London would be January 5th through 6th. Those numbers were also in that post. Assange would be extracted with the blessings of the Trump administration, and it's suggested in the designation F Delta C, referencing a federal detention center of undetermined location. We know that down at Gitmo, there's a Camp Delta. So, and I'm not saying that Assange is going to Gitmo, but they believe F Delta C is a reference to a location outside the United States. December 25th to 26th references Emanuel Lutz's famous painting depicting George Washington's crossing of the Delaware. The painting was posted on 8chan by Q and simultaneously by the Department of Defense on Christmas Eve. They both posted that same image of Washington crossing the Delaware. With the possibility that Assange might be returning to the United States, the storm that Q has been predicting appears to be ready to begin. Many of the posts up until now have talked about the storm is coming, all right? Or the calm before the storm. And the board... Trump said that, right.
That's where it came from.
On October 5th, Trump said, you know, it's like the calm before the storm. Q has been posting for the last month exclusively on an 8chan board called the calm before the storm. Did you know that Q suddenly switched over to posting on another 8chan board called the storm? Not calm before the storm, the storm. And Q has actually said there is a reason why we're posting on this board. All right, they switched from the calm before the storm to the storm. That, I think, is a little clue that maybe the storm is here. All right, so Q's reference to secured, the word secured, suggests a path for Assange to return to the United States has been secured at the highest levels of the U.S. government with the knowledge and approval of the president. Q's reference to the floor is yours suggests that it is Assange's opportunity to drop key files on the Hillary Clinton election campaign, the Russia collusion story. Yes, you have a question?
Somebody said, Dave, say that name again on 8chan. So it's the storm is all it is.
It's the storm. If you go on 8chan, there's a board called the storm. That's it. That's where Q is posting now. And Q, for what it's worth, it's my belief, and it's the belief of a number of other people that I trust, that Q is not posting anywhere else other than on 8chan and on only one board at a time, probably.
And that guy who's Zach.
The guy Zach who was on Alex Jones.
Probably bogus.
Probably false. I listened to some of that interview and I was like, this is not anyone who's involved with Q. It just did not pass the sniff test.
And Q said the only information being disseminated is from here.
Right. So Q has said the only place Q is posting information for us to go to get information from is on 8chan, on that board. That's it.
And no live interviews.
No live interviews, no other information, not on Twitter. So if you're following other accounts and other people, I don't know. I would be very leery about following other sources of information that claim to be Q.
Or claim to be connected to
or
Q.
claim to be connected to Q.
If Q doesn't say.
Right.
That.
Correct. So the floor is yours suggests that it is time for Assange to drop his information that he has, which will expose Brennan, Clapper, Eric Schmidt of Google, all the people who are involved in strange activities. More information coming forward. The comment Twitter FW suggests that Twitter will be used by Assange to communicate with the public as the extraction mission goes forward. The additional comment Twitter in brackets kill_rogue suggests that Assange may be posting key information on the Twitter account at kill_rogue. Finally, the notation conf_white_white suggests that Assange's initial destination of Switzerland has been confirmed. Conf is confirmation, white_white, white cross or white line and a white line. This, the flag of Switzerland is a white cross on a red background. So this is just piecing this stuff together, okay? On New Year's Eve, Assange posted on Twitter a cryptic string of numbers that appeared to be a dead man switch, linking possibly to a new cache of WikiLeaks documents Assange's associates would post, should Assange be arrested? So I saw that there was is the usual encryption key. It's got a lot of numbers and letters, and Assange typically posts that as a key that can be later be used to confirm the authenticity of a dump of information that's coming. It was also posted with a video and some lyrics. Assange's New Year's Eve post had the song Paper Planes by MIA in what seems to be a synchronized post. Under the account at @kill_rogue tweeted Assange's New Year's Day post and asked, "What words do you hear in the song?" One of the lyrics from that song is, "If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name." So Jerome Corsi is under the impression that Julian Assange has left the embassy, that he is likely either in Switzerland or possibly in the United States somewhere, being kept safe, or possibly in a safe place just outside the US. But it's all speculation. We don't really know, do we? You know, it's fun to follow this kind of intrigue. It's interesting, it's entertaining. I guess time will tell. We don't really know for sure. I don't spend all my time running around trying to figure out where Assange is going and what Assange is doing. I don't spend all that much time on Q either. I really want to do as much research as I can. And I appreciate you all supporting me in doing my research. It's hard to know what's going on because and you have to be careful in following Julian Assange accounts. There are a lot of fakes out there. The real Julian Assange account went through some changes. When I was following the Assange account last year before Christmas, that account was only following one account. It was following WikiLeaks, and there was no other accounts it was following. After the change, when that account was taken down for about 8 hours and it came back online, that Julian Assange account was following more than 20 accounts. And today, there is now a little hourglass next to Julian Assange's name. The little blue diamond, gone. There's an hourglass there now. So the operating assumption order now is that Assange has been, and look, this has been in the works for a long time. Dana Rohrabacher, months ago, visited Assange, got information that Assange had about the DNC emails and the Podesta emails. Rohrabacher came back to the States, supposedly talked to Trump. Many of us who've been watching this thing have been expecting that Assange would eventually be set free and be allowed to tell what he knows and give the rest of the information. Will it have information about who killed Seth Rich? I don't know. Does Assange know that? Maybe he does. We're going to find out. It seems like Assange is going to now be given a reason to tell all. So we'll have to hang in there and see what happens. Thoughts on Mueller interviewing Trump? Yeah. NBC report that Mueller is going to be interviewing Trump. Not worried. Trump has nothing to hide. I was a little surprised to see that. I would have thought Trump would have already been interviewed by Mueller at this point in the investigation. It does sound like Trump's attorneys are discussing how they're going to handle that. Whether they allow the president to testify with an oral interview or whether they do it in writing is being discussed. I'm not worried about it. I would pray. I would pray for the president to have wisdom and know what to do and that he wouldn't step into a trap. No to DEFCON 1. That is correct, Pepper. The DEFCON 1 reference was a reference to the deep state. It's DEFCON 1 for the deep state. It's not DEFCON 1 for us. In fact, when that DEFCON 1 thing came out last night, I was like, wait a minute. I went to DEFCON warning system and I retweeted their tweet that said, oh, isn't it great to have a peaceful time for a couple of days where you don't have to worry about world-ending events? And then people are tweeting out about DEFCON 1, and I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Come on now. Be serious. We're not at DEFCON 1. And Mike Pompeo yesterday on Face the Nation had come out and told people we're not expecting nuclear war from anyone imminently at anytime soon. So when people got freaked out about DEFCON 1, I was like, holy cats, relax. That's the danger about these cryptic posts that Q puts out there. If you do not correctly interpret these things and apply them with other knowledge that's out there, you're going to run around freaked out all the time, not knowing what's going on and spreading rumors and spreading fear, and you don't need to be doing that. So.
Well, and people are asking Q now to be more clear.
To be less cryptic? Yeah,
the board owners
good luck with that.
And the public is ready.
SpaceX is launching, yes, today. Again, another mystery wrapped in an enigma, surrounded by a riddle. What is in the SpaceX payload? Does it have something from North Korea? Are they building a new, orbiting weapons system? We don't know. There's a lot of speculation going on about the SpaceX launch. God hasn't shown me anything about that, so I
would suspect it has something to do with North Korea.
North Korea? Mm-hmm. Weapon systems? Yeah. All right. Any other questions I can't answer for you? My brother actually worked on the Star Wars program back in the 80s. He worked in Area 51 for a while. He was a meteorologist. He was a major in the Air Force. And he worked on the Star Wars program during the Reagan administration. I asked him one time. So, he was flying into Area 51 all the time. And this blacked out aircraft going to a hangar. Everything's blacked out. You can't see anything. And one time I asked him, so what was going on in Area 51? And he was like, I can't tell you, and don't ever ask me again. And I was like, well, okay, I guess we won't talk about Area 51 anymore. That was very informative. Yeah. You don't get to go into places like that unless they can trust you not to talk about it. So, alrighty. I'm going to get out of here. I love you all. Take care. Have a good evening. If I have any dreams, I'll give you updates. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next broadcast.